Broadcasting live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report, coming to you live on the backstretch of Saratoga Race Course alongside Seth, Merrow, and Anthony Mormino on another beautiful morning at the racetrack.
Yeah, and yesterday, yes, it was gorgeous, and it would have been a perfect day except for the off-the-turf races. But it was a gorgeous day at the racetrack.
Sometimes you can't have it all.
Yeah, and then yesterday was one of those where
today you might get it all.
Yeah. No, it's shaping up to be a very similar day today. And yesterday, as I say, gorgeous. Temperature was great. It was sunny all afternoon. And, you know, the only knock was the off-the-turf races. But you're right. Today we may get it all.
Were you surprised Cogburn came out?
I was very surprised. But I guess they're kind of committed there now. And maybe there's another spot. You know, they're I'm sure they're looking at that turf sprint at Kentucky Downs with the connections and whatnot.
It's a big pot for turf sprinters to pass up on your way to the Breeders' Cup.
And
hey, maybe you can win a championship, but that would be unheard of, right? Turf sprinter.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, it was. I was because he can turf or dirt. So
you thought so. That's why, as I like to say, I play the game of who's coming out and who's staying in, and it's fun because I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. We found out. I think, I'm not the type to chase down. I'm not going to, I always said I'm not going to ask the people why they come out because they have no vested interest in telling me the truth. So I'm like, I feel like, I thought it was a great spot. As you said, he was a good sprinter on the dirt, and he's probably a better racehorse now. So, c'est la vie, as the French say. He'll have another day.
I wanted to go back to yesterday because we had a kind of an interesting conversation when I brought up Great Falls, Montana, and you said, I think there's soccer fields there. And when you said that, Great Falls is in Montana. And I remember there was a track with soccer fields, but I was thinking,
Grants Pass.
Yes.
Oh,
I pulled up
Grants Pass.
I pulled up a picture, and there you see the soccer fields.
Grants Pass. It's at the last minute.
Which is in Oregon. I was thinking Northern California. I knew there was a track like that. And then I mentioned the golf course.
Hold on.
I mentioned the golf course. That's Pleasanton.
Pleasanton,
which is in Northern California.
In California.
But it's a 9-hole golf course. And
it's got to be
three of them are par fours. You think it's a pitch and putt. But
that's good. The executive course over at the state park has 2 par fours and 7 par threes. So that's similar. I'd be interested to know the lengths of the par fours because they're not very far in Saratoga. I'll let you know. I think I haven't played it in a long time. My golf game's gotten better. I might be able to drive number 9 now. You got to bend it to the left, but so that's Pleasanton. So that's the fair circuit. Didn't they run a couple days? They were running a couple days ago. They moved around the fair. But I
want to say June or early July.
I think I like
Alameda
that.
County Fair.
And as soon as you said, I go, no, it's Grants Pass.
Yeah. Because when we were talking about Great Falls yesterday,
right?
And that's in Montana. When you said that, I knew there was this, and I thought Northern California.
And if you look it up at Grants
Pass is in Oregon.
I said,
wasn't that the track a couple of years ago? The lights went out during the last race. I think Jason Bean was calling back then. There,
I don't remember that. Like during the race, and I said this yesterday. I got the track wrong, but the soccer community revenue is helpful to the racetrack. Like it's a thing. Like you go on Google Earth, you get it's like, but Grants Pass, good job.
Yeah.
So.
Which, again, Oregon and Pleasanton, one of the Northern California fairs.
I'll never catch up with Kevin Cox with visiting. He finds places that I've never even heard of in the internet. And he's good about it. He posts pictures, and some of them look like I know why they're not on the internet. It looks like some guy set up shop in his backyard. the one place he had last year, the finish line was like a post, and I mean like a 3-foot high post. It was harness racing, but that's
photos at Instamatic.
Oh yeah,
you have to take to the drugstore.
We'll get to you on Tuesday with the purse distribution, which might be quicker than the Saudi Cup. Who knows when that purse. But apparently we're close on the Saudi Cup, right? We're like hours away between. What is it? My girl, right?
Yeah,
She's sitting there waiting, getting what, $10 million. Yeah. But I'd like to visit. I'd like to definitely go to Grants Pass, and now I'd like to go to Great Falls because I'd like to. This is found funny because I've never done any of it, but what I think they call Big Sky Country intrigues me.
Yeah.
Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, the eastern part of Washington and Oregon. I mean, I'm not saying there's a plethora of stuff to go, but I'd like to go and spend some time there, play some golf, and see these racetracks. But Grants Pass, the soccer fields, that's unbelievable. Good job, though.
No,
you got it on the internet. And Pleasanton, what's funny is I'm not well briefed on the California Fair circuit, but they have Fresno, and I was like, but I'm kind of surprised with myself that it never popped in my head that there was a golf course, which I love, at Pleasanton, because I think it's Andrew Champagne, who's in the pink sheet, right? Used to be local. Now he's out on the left coast. I think he does some of the fair circuit work for some group. Like he follows for a group, or he enjoys it and he goes. I'm not exactly sure, but I think he has
I'm assuming
professional job.
It is expanding as well with the situation in Northern California.
It's
but I did find it
Santa
funny.
Anita, Del Mar, and the California Fair Circuit.
As I'm looking at the page that had the picture on it, I'm looking and seeing, like a scorecard was there that was showing the pars.
Okay.
3 par 4s on the infield. But as you say, they're probably And
I know
more reasonable par 4s.
I mean, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's 2.5 miles around. I think I forget the name of the course. I think it's a Pete Dye course, but I think there's 4 holes. You go through it under a tunnel, and I think there's 4 holes inside because you could probably put maybe an entire golf course inside, but obviously they have Gasoline Alley, they have Pit Row, they have some, but there's 4 holes. I think that would just be great going under the tunnel. I have met people that say like it's a slightly, it's above average. There's other better courses in Indiana to play. He goes, but to be inside the speedway hitting a 4-iron, it's not something you can do every day. But all right, so they ran the Troy on the dirt without Cochran. They ran the Saratoga
Showcase
special.
looked good in the Saratoga special, certainly.
Very good.
So there's another
another example for me. They're off, you lose.
Yeah.
Stumbled badly at the start on the outside, and
our friends at West Point. That was I pulled up the head on. I don't know if maybe Danny could pull up the head on because I called for it in the next show.
Oh,
this was some stumble for the West Point.
Yeah,
course.
it's one of those kiss
and it was they're off, you lose kind of a thing. Lucky to
unrecoverable.
Lucky to stay on the horse.
Yeah,
jockey. I mean, it was just a bingo bango kind of a situation. But Showcase looked good.
Hitting the earth would have been the bongo.
Yeah, you're right. It was just bingo bango.
On
the outside there. Yikes.
That's
and so
So 2 horses eliminated.
Pretty much the race is
over. They just.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, it's amazing. You think I've told this story before. I had waited for a European runner to come over who remained nameless. This is a long time ago. Got stung by a bee during the middle of the race. Ended her run. And then wasn't there in the crazy days of the Derby when young people are going to fall off their chairs right now. Churchill Downs didn't have a turf course until 1987. So in the Derby before then, the fans got very close. I think Bombay Duck, the 75 Derby, got hit with a beer can.
Oh, well, there was, of course, the art.
Oh, the kid. That
was. And if folks don't remember that, some lunatic went out on the track and took a swing at one of our Artex. It was
Well,
in the Preakness.
Yeah, was it? Yes, it's true. Was it right? Yes, it's true. It was. It's a terrible moment. Luckily, he was inebriated. I forget whatever happened. He was drunk. It was one of the dumbest things a human has done to survive and talk about. But I also think it was kind of a moment where I think the coach was, starting to get a sprinter, leading the pack like he did with Orientate later. And I think it kind of changed the movement. And I don't think yes, it's true ever bounced back. And, but in a way, I find it stupidly humorous when you see the head-on picture now, because, nobody got hurt, but it was terribly interrupted. What was that, was that a Breeders' Cup sprint race? It was just, it was a big sprint race on the national calendar on Preakness Day. And, you see the dummy like he wants to punch a horse. But, idiots. But Bombay Duck got hit with beer can. My Breeders' Cup mile, hot shot pick gets stung by a bee.
It was at the harness track one night after a race, that they're coming back in the stretch, and somebody whipped the hot dog at one of the loose.
Well, at least they didn't pull a Joe Pesci over the wall, and and what was that? Easy Money?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. Oh my God! You have to see Let It Ride and the one scene in Easy Money.
I'm not even sure I remember Easy Money as a movie.
Oh, tremendous!
Oh,
Rodney
really?
on his late in his career.
Yeah.
First he pushes the little
I don't
MG.
think I saw it, but
This little MG takes his part, snookers him on a parking spot. So he just pushes the MG with his van over. And I don't know what's funnier, how Joe Pesci reacted to the driver or what they did to the person in the betting line to get their bet in. I don't want to spoil it if you can't remember, because you should see it. But I understand the DePaula play of the day will be with you in the next hour.
Yeah, we'll go live with the DePaula when Steve Bick comes in. And I'll take this opportunity to remind you, promo today is the Pick 3 bankroll. Still open. If you haven't signed up yet to potentially be on the team, we close at about noontime. We'll select the team shortly thereafter, and I will put together some Pick 3 plays for this afternoon, hoping to knock it out of the park, and the team splits up all the winnings at the end of the day. So keep that in mind for this afternoon as far as the promos. And coming up at 10 o'clock, it's Loose on the Lead. Steve Bick, he's in town. He was planning to go to Colonial, but Colonial had the weather situation as we did up here, and so they shifted dates around and whatnot. So Steve stayed in town. He'll be in at 10 o'clock. We will be joined by Anna Cianello from Facing Tipton. We'll get a little recap of the sale from earlier this week, a little preview of the New York bred sale coming up from Anna. Richard Migliori will be in. Perfect to pull him in on Fourstardave Day, because he was, I think, rode Fourstardave 25 times, if I have the stats right. So we'll get some memories of Fourstardave on Fourstardave Day. And Rudy Rodriguez, who, again, started off a little slow, but he's cooking. And after the last race yesterday, I said, come on over and stop by for some TV. I saw him this morning. I was over shooting some breakfast footage and ran into Rudy. So he'll be over as well. Should be a fun Loose on the Lead today at 10 o'clock.
Sounds terrific. All right, ready to get underway. A unique-ish type Sunday. I don't know if this is the first Sunday we've ever had multiple Grade 1 races at Saratoga.
That's probably a very good point.
I mean,
and like yesterday, there will be a late pick 4 and a late pick 5, because originally, the last two races are the stakes that were rescheduled. So it was juggled around.
Memory serves you right. The last two races are not part of the pick 6.
Correct. Also, keep that in mind. The 9th race is the last race. So work your way. What is it? That makes it the third, takes it off, or the 4th. But
so I'm also wondering. I'm sure
but they added a late pick 4 and a late pick 5.
Mine are too old, so I can't use the banner for the. The form did nothing wrong. I mean, I downloaded these. I'd be interested if anybody downloaded them today, if the banner has been updated.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, that's a great question.
When you're in our position, I can't speak for Seth, but I'm probably within 12 hours, right? We got these two and a half days ago.
Yeah.
So, and that was before any of the judgments had been made. So,
But if you did pull them up, that pick six, that's right. It'll start 4, go through 9.
Okay, so that
the pick 6 today is where it originally was, but they added a late pick 4 and a late pick 5 to go through the.
And
last
Naira's been great getting it out on X, Twitter, and it's all out there. And I believe this wholeheartedly. It'll be in the program correctly for you. So when you get a program,
and I'm kind of imagining it might be the same as yesterday. And yesterday, we had Rob McClellan and the assistant racing secretary to kind of explain it. On your menu, when you pull up Capital OTB Bet, there's the regular Saratoga option, but I believe today, like yesterday, the late pick 4 and late pick 5 will be a special that you'll have to click on. I'm assuming it's pretty much the same as yesterday because they were late editions. So if you don't see that late pick 4 and late pick 5, going through the last 2 stakes races, on the Saratoga options, look for that special when you pull up your tracks.
And I bring up times when I think the racetrack should do better, but these are things that we as adults should be able to handle. It's been way out there, foresight, no, so just, not everything's the same today, but they did a good job. We're going to have 2 grade 1s on a Sunday, and locally, I cannot remember that ever happening because Saturday's always been the premier day in racing. Even California, in California through 1990, Sunday was always their big day. And then really when Bill Shoemaker was retiring, they moved his race from Sunday to Saturday for Wide World of Sports. Young people going, what the heck is that? And really since then, when the American Championship Racing Series that we love, one of the best ideas. It only lasted 2 years. The big races were on Saturday, so they moved the big cap, etc. But 2 grade 1s today.
And I'll toss in Arlington Million is today too, because again they had weather issues down at Colonial Downs also. So Arlington Million today also. Had Terry Finley in yesterday. Integration for West Point, so should be an interesting day down at Colonial.
Still a big race. I have such warm feelings about the Arlington Million. I mean, what a great idea. The words I heard about
I envy you. You went out just before it closed and raved about it, as does pretty much everybody who went there, and that it's not that it disappeared.
And Arlington I can tell you that people had told me, and they were near the end, that they had put the brakes on a lot of the stuff that they did, so it wasn't even full-blown Arlington, and it was still fantastic. Yeah. That was one of the good ones for me. And I went to Laurel. It was really a Laurel thing, and getting, and I'm, it's sad. It's sad for me. Let's kick it off. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. The opener starter allowance going 6.5.
I went kind of logical today, and we'll see how it works out. But 4-1-2, she's always Rosie on top for Linda Rice. The race 2 back was very good to break the maiden. The follow up was pretty good, And I always say, sometimes it takes a start or 2 to figure out when you move up a condition. This one got the experience at the next level under the belt, and I think the last 2 kind of tabbed that as the one to beat, perhaps. Oh My Mia in the second spot, broke the maiden last time, but had to drop down for a tag to do it. But I think the Tommy Amos runner probably fits nicely with this field. Certainly once you get past the top pick, and then She's Cool in the 3rd spot. It's the other Linda Rice, and I suppose just on that, you kind of have to put this one in the mix, but also attracted Irad Ortiz. So should be a player. 4-1-2 for me.
Yeah, the race goes through the 4. I mean, let's be clear about that with Palmetto Fury. If the 71 stacks back up, much better this 3rd place rating. But I took a flyer here with She's Cool, and I will say that I thought there would be more moisture left in the racetrack. I don't have that hope right now. This is an offspring. I think these are not juveniles, but I think last year's 2-year-olds were Always Dreaming's first crop.
That sounds right.
So She's Cool would be in his first crop, and the maiden breaker was going 6th, maiden special weights, that is, on a muddy sealed racetrack. So I was just taking a flyer with She's Cool because, and it's going to get bet this way because Seth is right. The power of the buyer. She's Always Rosie, stands out in this field over the last 2 races. But if you think those last 2 races now are in position for regression, and you think maybe there'll be multiple speeds up front, which I didn't get with my play of the day at Del Mar yesterday. I thought I was sitting there, loose speed made it too easy. But I'm 2, 4, 3 here. She's always Rosie is in a good spot, but 4 to 5 or maybe even less. I don't think so for me on top.
Race number 2 on this Sunday afternoon. We're looking at Plain Vanilla Claimer, $75,000 tag, 6.5 furlongs is the trip.
And sometimes I think this is anecdotal, but I think also when it's restricted to 3-year-olds, I don't pay as much attention to the price because I think I don't want to say inflated, but I think it's protective. Because I think you will see if you charted out these restricted 3-year-old claiming races, there's a point in their future when they're running for a lot less than this 3-year-old number. And that's just a anecdotal observation. And here I'm with Seth. I thought and I believe that proprietary trade has an edge on this field that's pretty good. Now, the downside to that is, Seth, this is coming from my lips. I would almost sign up for 6 to 5 now, but I don't think there's any way we're getting that based on the silks, I'll just say.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the type of horse I'll be 4 to 5, 3 to. I mean, this horse is going to get bet. 6 to 5, I think, is somewhat attractive with this horse, and I just don't think we're going to get it with these runners. The 5 is my second pick, broke the maiden in a huge effort, but hasn't been able to follow that up and has had nearly a handful of chances with that. But that being said, Seth, this horse has, is it 3? 3 buyers that are clearly better than the 2.
Yeah.
So this is for me.
That's the one I was looking at when you said, will we get less than 6 to 5? I'm wondering how much action, particularly with Irod on board, the 5 will take. But I do think you're right. I think 6 to 5 may be a little generous. But I don't know whether we'll go down too far from that because I do think
now this is a great test.
Action.
Is it the Chad Brown, Klarovich weight outdoing the buyer's speed figures at Gulfstream Park? Wait, I think this is a good test. It might seem like but I will say this for the horizontals, I would feel very confident with the 2 and the 5. Apollo code for 3, but 2, 5, 3 for me. An intriguing race to see how the bettors play it.
2, 1, 5, and 4. For the Times Union, every day I have to toss out a stat. And the interesting stat I had usually. Are we?
We're within. Nice. Things break right today for you with our team. We'll be.
All right. Well, the last week and a half,
3 full weeks.
I've rebounded a little bit myself, so I don't know how I've personally been doing because I haven't been.
You won yesterday. I won on Thursday.
Right.
We're 2 back.
Good. Oh, nice.
8-6-8.
Nice, because we were chasing for a while.
Chasing.
But and usually I look for something a little more clever than landing on the 6 to 5 favorite. But I thought this was a little bit intriguing. Chad Brown, the last 3 years, first time for a tag, 38 for 140, 27%. And I always look for stats kind of stand out if they're above the normal stat, and Chad Brown has very good numbers, but that 27% is a little above. So overall, last 3 years, first time for a tag, 38 for 140, 27%. You parse that out to Saratoga, it stays at 27%, 16 for 60.
That's who he is.
But on the dirt at Saratoga, it's 8 for 24, 33%. So as I say, just a little bit intriguing. Proprietary trade on top, coming off a 4th place finish last time behind the very talented Bookham Dano. So dropping in for the tag probably has a little bit of an edge. But I put Apollo Code in the 2nd spot for Delgado, coming off a Monmouth try last time, a 4th place finish, but an okay number. The number 3 back was pretty good. And then Entendre in the 3rd spot. Yeah, last seen at Gulfstream, comes up to Saratoga to give a try here in the tracks, Irad Ortiz. And as you say, you go past the stake try last time, the numbers prior are pretty solid. So it will be interesting to see how the betting public tilts here. They're going to tilt towards the Chad Brown. I'm just saying I'm interested to see what the separation will be between those two. 2, 1, 5, and 4.
On to the 3rd. Phillies in for 40, going 6.
6, 3, 4, and 5. I will put Starship Defiant on top. David Jacobson, trainee, that I think is getting maybe a little bit of class relief, steps out of some optional claimers. So on the conditions, probably we'll find this spot a little bit more interesting. And maybe, given that, maybe rebound to some of the numbers a little further down the page, because the most recent numbers, they're okay. They probably stack up with this bunch. But again, those prior numbers are a little bit better. And class-wise, maybe we get to those. Rachel's Rock in the second spot. Irod Ortiz on board. Hasn't been seen since February, but the July 24th bullet stood out to me that the horse probably comes back on her toes. And another one that, if that's the case, maybe we get back to some of the prior numbers, which are good enough. And then It Takes Heart in the third spot off the claim, moves up off the claim. But if you go down the page, this horse has faced this type and better. So I don't think the move is anything to really be too concerned about, and I think will fit. I think Wayne Potts had a win on the card yesterday. So I have it 6, 3, 4, and 5.
I think everybody's in this, including Jackie the Joker. And I'd like to take a pause here. Green Tree Stables. That's not the Green Tree, because the silks are similar, but didn't they have striping? But right, that says Green Tree Stables, right?
Yeah.
Right down the road here years ago. I think everybody's in it, including Jackie the Joker, who tried, starter allowance earlier in the meet. But who 2 through 6, who can't win? I do think Rachel's Rock, Carlos David, a very sharp trainer, doesn't run a lot of horses in New York. And Offspring of Justice Dream is my top pick in here. But I have 2 through 6 all live in here. It Takes Heart first off the claim. He said, Wayne. Willow Bend is my second pick. I'm throwing out the most recent effort. I think the moisture I thought would be around. Starship Defiant for David Jacobson. But boy, I'll tell you, getting through this, and I think this is what Brian Adder used to tell me. He said, where you really get helped in races like this is if you have a strong opinion, because the bulk of the horizontal people are going to have to spread here. And if you have an opinion, and obviously if you're right, you're helped really disproportionately because you're freed up to go other ways. So I think it's a wide open short field race. 3, 5, 6 for me.
I don't think this is the original Green Tree, because
it's not.
I don't think the original was a limited liability partnership.
No, it was. They were unlimited by their partnership to pay for things.
Dark horse play of the day today. My horse yesterday ran decent little fourth, but I felt should run better, and B, there were points in the race where I thought, we're in a good spot. Just didn't have it. But I'll go to the 6th race today, which I think is a fun maiden special. I think you can point in a few different directions. There are some horses to like. Mia's Mom is a sibling to Skippy Longstocking, the 1. But I put the 7 on top. Teanita goes out for Shug, first time by Tappet. Tappet has some ability with first-time starters, but there's a sibling called No White Flags that won the first 2 starts of the career. So I thought there was some win early, top and bottom. Steady string of workouts. Shug has a barn down at Fair Hill, and so earlier in the spring and in the summer, early part of the summer, was down at Fair Hill, has come up to Saratoga. The workouts don't jump off the page, but they're pretty steady. They're okay. And again, a little win early, top and bottom. And Irod Ortiz is attracted to jump on board. We're getting 5-1 on the morning line. And as I say, most of the day today, I was pretty logical. So this was the one that I was attracted to take a shot with the dark horse at the 5-1 price. Because again, I think there's a little bit of win early there in what, as I say, is an interesting race with a few others that I could be attracted to as well. But dark horse play of the day on this Sunday afternoon, race number 6, horse number 7, Tehanita, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga, both in downtown Saratoga. Again, always invite you to stop by. They're both on Broadway, both great places to stop by and browse through. Tell them you saw their name here on the program, and you will not be sorry. If you're going downtown for dinner, stop by. They're both open to either 8 or 9 o'clock at night, depending on the day of the week. So thanks again to the folks at Dark Horse and Impressions for their sponsorship of the Dark Horse Play of the Day.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more live from the spa.
More than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A beautiful Sunday. Seth was here earlier than me, which made me nervous, thinking that we had an 8 o'clock show, and I was here about 8:15.
I thought when you drove in and my car was there.
Well, first thing I said, that was my first thought, that this was an 8 a.m. show. That's bad for me. Secondly, I was like, did Seth pull an all-nighter, which would also be bad for me? But then I saw the windows were rolled down, so that gave me, but I was still intrigued, like, Seth's not, the early bird catches the worm, but he was shooting some breakfast, what's it called, B-roll in your, getting some, and I was saying just when we came back, it's one of the few things that getting older, like when I was a kid in my 20s, I'd go to breakfast, I'd stay here all day. You used to have to leave the track. And this is something that I'm telling you, Seth, they have to bring back. And it would be so easy in the digital age. But when you got the program, say you came up to the track on Wednesday, and you got to like race 5, at the bottom it would say, tomorrow at the Hall of Fame, a film on Dr. Fager or Damascus, or it would be this film. So when you had to leave here, because you couldn't come back till 11:30, post time was 1:30. You left, you went over there, you saw a film, etc. And when it was done, you could, you would return to the racetrack. It was a perfect, and I can't tell you, when I got my program, and they were about 35 cents in those days, first thing I keep going back, bus tours, all these things, trying to find out at the bottom, who was going to be the next day, because sometimes I wasn't interested in what it was, but I always thought that was a great thing. And Seth said the breakfast still looks stunning.
Breakfast looked good. There's a breakfast buffet, and we'll do something on it next week. I went over to shoot the footage for that. And there was a lot of people, and horses are working out. And then they wanted me, because I came back here and the tram went by, and I went to get some footage of the tram, and the folks down there, they stop and you get a tour, you get a look at, the outrider ponies, and you get a look at the starting gate and whatnot.
Great.
But one of the folks down there that kind of does the tour said, remind folks it's a free option at breakfast. There's
little signs of what's on the last tram, and it gets you on the backside, which we talk about, which you don't have public access to, and it's a great experience, etc. Yeah. The one thing we can't replicate is Mary riding on the horse. The workouts.
No, but Laura is over there now. We'll have Laura in.
Good.
And we'll.
And the reason I can't do it is I could do it, but I can't spend the whole day. I'm here.
Yeah. So again, keep that in mind. We'll talk more about it next week. But the 4th race today, maiden claimers, 3/4 of a mile.
And I should say, with many of my selections, I thought when I started doing this that Saturday was going to be the Debbie day. It ended up being Friday, so it's less moisture in the racetrack. Getting to Sunday, 935. Save Us Melania in for the lowest tag for Safi Joseph. Coming up, 1 start since winter for a second. Jingle Bells First time tag, Gary Contessa. One of those debuts. It was in the slop at Laurel. The horse was bet at 5-2. Run worse. And they did. Now, whether that was the slop or the career debut, I cannot know. And for all those fans of the Flintstones, number 5, Bam Bam, 935.
But Bam Bam is out of impressive lady. Wasn't Bam Bam Barney's little boy? So who was the little girl? Fred and Wilma had the little girl.
Wilhelmina? No, that was right on.
Pebbles. Yeah, Pebbles. Thank you, from Dino. So I don't get why out of impressive lady they went with Bam Bam, but there's something there, obviously. But I went with Bam Bam on top. 5, 6, 9, and 7. There are a couple of siblings that won their career debut. This one didn't live up to that, and I will readily say, given that there's a little bit of breeding there, they paid $170,000, and the debut had some trouble. Certainly not an impressive debut, but that they kind of give up so soon. I'm dicey on this as a top pick, but I do think with these connections and the potential is there with the drop that maybe this horse just outclasses this one. They're just, hey, let's move this one out. Somebody wants it, fine. So I'll take that shot, but with trepidation. Coquita in the second spot comes in off a decent little try last time when dropped for a 40 tag. Drops half of that price today that you would think would be a little extra beneficial. And then Savas Melania in the third spot off a nice second place finish last time. A 25 tag down at Gulfstream. That was also back in March. But Safi Joseph having a pretty good meet. You would think this will come in ready to roll. 5, 6, 9, and 7.
And I thought so. Bam Bam was the Rubbles' son.
That's what I said.
Pebbles,
Barney's kid.
Yeah, Barney's kid. That was it. Pebbles was
Fred and Wilma.
What a great.
But I think they were like young boyfriend and girlfriend.
He got married apparently in the.
I didn't keep up with that.
Bam. No, I just looked up at you, but I remember that was a tremendous cartoon. I was not a.
And for folks who don't remember, it was a prime time cartoon.
Oh, I did not know that myself.
It started out in prime time on ABC.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it was a homage to the Honeymooners.
Yes, you could see that. And ABC was probably a young company at the time.
Yeah.
Because that's the youngest of the big three. State Breds, maiden claimers in for 40, 8.5 on the turf.
Certainly rooting for our friends at Eddie F's. When I was over shooting breakfast, Eddie drove by him in his golf cart, and we waved and briefly exchanged.
No,
that would maybe a little too early for a lobster. No, it's never too
early for a kid with Maine in their blood.
No. So we're rooting for Sweet Tone, but I didn't pull the trigger there. I went 8, 7, 2, and 5. Katani on top. First couple of starts of the career did what horses often do. When you look at the PPs, made a nice jump from start 1 to start 2. Also did it with a move to turf. So seemed to appreciate the move, seemed to appreciate having some experience under the belt. All of that said, those 2 races were last year. But this is the kind I think can come back even improved off of that. Lightly raced as a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and then a little time off and they come back. So Katani on top. Tonio, Dave Donk has done well over the past couple of weeks. And this one I think comes in 13 starts and no wins. Waffler is very similar also for Dave Donk. But I thought both of these, they've had plenty of starts and no wins. But I think they're going to mix it up with this particular group today. And then in between those 2 in the third spot, I put Judge Rules going out for our guest a little bit later on, Rudy Rodriguez, off of some starts that, again, I think with this group are going to match up okay. 5th race this afternoon, 8, 7, 2, and 5. All
right, the 16 is an MTO, the 10, 5. The 10 intrigues me very much. I draw, a tough post position, not unbearable, but coming off 3 sprints for Jim Bond's operation, we're taking blinkers off and we're rooting today. I have to think the foundation's there, the blinkers off, they want to relax. I get Joel Rosario. I'm looking for the upset there. Then Waffler underneath, I think, could run better than odds. I think Eddie F has a chance for some first here today.
6 races this afternoon. Maiden special 2-year-old fillies. They will travel 7 furlongs.
Going the 7/8, and hopefully I get some run today. 8-1-4. Trango Tower, first-time starter for Chad Brown, an offspring of Curlin, who I think himself debuted going 7/8 for Helen Pitts. Solid workouts, the type that, the 4 furlongs for Chad for debut. I'm on the outside going 7/8 with Joelle for second. On the other side of the starting gate, Mia's mom makes the career debut, and Trading Strategy, who the other Chad Brown runner for Klarovich, Flavian, 5-2, 8-1-4.
7, 6, 8, and 1. Again, this is my dark horse play, Tejanita. The sibling No Way Flags won the first 2. Tap it good with win early type, so I'll tilt slightly there. Quick Kick has some win early siblings. A couple of them won their debut. McKinsey on top. We've talked about that sire for the last couple of weeks. Came into that couple of week period with some nice numbers, but no winners in his first crop. But has changed that now and kind of living up to what you would expect. So I thought there was a little life there. Third spot, Trango Tower. Yeah, the first start by Chad. I normally take a close look at Chad and Klarovich. I left Trading Strategy out. So note that Trading Strategy probably wins for fun. But I mentioned earlier, and I will mention again, Mia's mom at 12-1. Don't ignore the Robbie Medina trainee. Sibling to Skippy Longstocking. That one won in its third career start. Another sibling called Moonlight Strike won in starts 2 and 3. Olivia Twist won the first 3 starts. I think Mia's mom at 12-1 is very interesting. 7, 6, 8, and 1.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the spa.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 7. Claimers going 6.5.
4, 6, 7, and 8. Riders special on top. Linda Rice trainee steps out of Starter Allowance Company. Claimed the horse 3 back for 25. They had a second and a starter allowance, so put a little money in the bank. So again, the drop is maybe a little bit of a concern, but they did put some money in the bank and probably looking for a winning spot up here at Saratoga. I'll put Rider Special on top. Beach Boy Al in the second spot. Hasn't been seen since May, but I think the Jeremiah Engelhardt horse, again, one of those that probably fits with this bunch, does come off avoided claim, so a little bit of a concern there. But I do think class-wise stacks up nicely with this group. And then Mr. JT in the third spot, Rob Atras runner, going out, Irad Ortiz on board, and stepping out of some optional claiming company. So another one that class-wise is going to get a bonus, you would think, in with this bunch. But there are a couple others that have similar scenarios, so we'll see how it shakes out. 4, 6, 7, and 8.
I've mentioned this a couple times this season. When the buyer par pops up, that was long before Seth dialed me into how powerful the buyer speed figures are in the wagering. I often use the buyer par to see who could reach that. Now with Rider Special, hasn't reached that bar. Now the only part that's important to me is that kind of indicates my top pick, the 3, has buyers around Rider Special, which isn't good enough to the par that typically wins this race. And I'm going to be a much bigger price. I just was I think the race is more wide open based on if you can run about a 78, 79.
Yeah, we're shooting for a buyer bogey here.
You're there. Yeah, well put.
I don't think anybody's getting the par.
And I think Note Away can run like a 78, 79, maybe not, but I'm willing to find out because I'm going to get all of 12-1 in here with Jackie Davis. Rider Special I have underneath, the race goes through, is consistently running better numbers, but doesn't reach the ceiling of this. So that's kind of a barometer for me. Then Bronx Bomber, 6 for 62 lifetime. But I thought the race was more wide open than a 7-5 favorite would indicate.
Stakes action. This was the stake originally scheduled for today. We have the rescheduled grade ones coming up a little bit later on. But the Mahoney, $150,000 up for grabs for 3-year-olds, sprinting a quick 5.5 on the grass.
And what was he, the president of mutuals or in mutuals for like 45 years or something like that? They don't say it anymore, but I would say 8th or 9th running. We've had it for a little while up here. I'm 5'7", No Name Mets is a gigantic price for Dylan Davis, who's had a great meet. On just raw data, wins, but the ROI is something I look at. And for bettors, for handicappers, I think it's important, but for jockeys, I think you learn a lot. I've always said this. Up here, especially Saratoga, you can name the bodies who are going to get the 3 or 4 most live horses in a race. It's hard to win races when you're not in that group, but Dylan has done great, comes out of the quick call with no chance there. Out of the Jaipur, no chance. This is with 3-year-olds, much softer in here. The quick call 3-year-old also, but probably has faced, the winners. It was not competitive with them, the 2 best sprinting turfers, and that's not the case in the Mahoney today. The 7 for Bill Mott, a brilliant performance behind Star of Mystery off of the victory. Now you have to wonder, do we regress back to the 80s? I think the horse goes through, Junior. And then for 3rd, number 10, Run Carson, who also figures to be a gigantic price, but I think could be sneaky good here from the outside.
I will say at 15-1, I'll put a couple of bucks on No Name Mets because also if you look at the last 2 races, and that's what kind of scared me away. Yeah, they were against better, but still. But both had blinkers on those races, and blinkers come off today, and the better races are just prior to that without the blinker. So again, the price on that one, I may jump in and play around a little bit, but I'm 7-1, 2 and 3. Mansa Musa on top for Bill Mott. Finished behind Star of Mystery in the quick call last time. That was a nice performance. I think is a square fit with this bunch. Fandom in the 2nd spot. Brad Cox trainee. Nice win in a turf sprint stake at Keeneland. 2 starts back and then ran 3rd just behind Mansa Musa in the quick call last time. Likely race, maybe still some upside potential. And Howard Wolowitz, maybe we get the Big Bang from Howard. You see what I did there, folks? And I don't even like the Big Bang Theory, but a Gold Square, an Al Gold horse, no surprise, gets one of those popular culture names and comes in off a big number win down at Gulfstream. I think could be a little bit interesting in here, potentially to price, but I'm 7-1, 2 and 3.
Now, I'm horrible at pop culture. Movie pop cultures, you got a chance. Television pop culture, you don't have a chance. The Big Bang Theory was the really smart people, right?
Yeah.
I will say this. I never watched the show. Never watched, I think, a 30-minute show, probably, comedy, right? But I do have a history of watching the final shows of shows I didn't watch, which is kind of stupid, but I've done it. I watched the final for Cheers, Seinfeld, MASH,
Seinfeld,
Friends,
bad. Really, the only good one was the Newhart show where he wakes up with Suzanne Pleshette.
That was tremendous. That was a long time ago. What was that, 90?
Probably.
Okay. But in the Big Bang, as it was on in my house, I turned around and I said, what I could put together, it was one of the best ones ever because he had won the Nobel Prize. And then in his speech, he developed a component I'm guessing he never had, which was he had his friends stand up and tell, and really a human moment for him, which I don't think was his character, but he's having the Nobel Prize, the moment he's waiting for his whole life. And in the middle of it, it jars him and he realizes, and I was like, that was well done on a show that maybe it doesn't fit his character.
I don't know.
But I
do
liked
not
it.
remember the last.
I like
because I never watched it.
Neither did I.
There was a bunch of popular. That one, Married with Children, never got me. Friends, I was never a big fan of.
Never.
Seinfeld was.
That was you?
Andy Griffith, and The Odd Couple are my top three. And I ran into
Wow.
somebody over on the front side who gave me a high
That's
five
a collection.
because I mentioned it one other time. They're like, yeah, you nailed it. Those are the three.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody can the Andy Griffith Show. We'll take our final break. When we come back, I don't know that's ever been said before. Multiple grade ones on Sunday. On track.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
And welcome back. The 9th race scheduled to go off at 5:42, 7 furlongs. 3L.
110, 6, and 5. If you have the 9 in your mix, I wouldn't argue you off
do.
of that one. So, yeah, I could have moved that in.
At the top of the mix.
Perfect. I went with JJ's Joker, little turf to dirt move, little cutback. I think both of those will be beneficial. And this one at 5-1, Tyler Gaffleone on board, I think could be interesting again on those two angles. I really debated that's money because, again, making a class move that I think is interesting. I talk about it a lot. State bred allowance into an open claimer. Now, this isn't that, but you go state bred stakes race. We're talking a similar kind of a scenario. But it was such a move that I was a little bit, leery. The horse has shown some talent. Now they come back for the 25 tag. So, again, one of those can win by a city block, lose by a city block. 12th man in the third spot, claimed last time, but there are some numbers down the page that are a little bit intriguing. We'll see what this one can do today. If we can get back to those, though, I think as a player in the 9th, 110, 6, and 5.
I will say the 10 scares me very much. I actually like what they're doing, Todd Pletcher. The first 2 victories, the Mike Lee is a throwout. To me, I guess the one eyebrow would be is, dump, because the other time was in for the allowance conditions. I don't know that I'd be here claiming 25. I'm like, I see stuff here. I'd want to continue on. I'm scratching the Mike Lee in the slop, etc.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But they know better. But the fact that that's money isn't in for a 2X New York bred, I'm like, that's the only thing that scares me because I like the first 3 races, and I'm dismissing the Mike Lee up here in June. But the 9 is my top pick in the Jim Ryerson barn now. As I said, I thought there'd be some more moisture, but 2 races back, a brilliant performance. The type of repeat puts me in the mix with Dylan Davis. I'm on the outside. I think I'm going to sit a good trip. And then Sweet Swag for 3rd, Rudy Rodriguez in Fuego, 9-10-2.
And the rescheduled Fourstardave race number 10 today. Grade 1 event, $500,000 up for grabs, a mile on the grass. And I was surprised to read, it became clear. It's the first time in the last, 3 or 4 years it's been run without Casa Cree, Lee Einsteiler's horse who retired just before the meet. And I found that once I read it, I thought, that's right. It's kind of interesting, though.
gave us a lot of seasons, at the top flight. 7-6-4 for me. More Than Looks makes a seasonal debut for Saratoga. I told you I do not care about layoffs anymore. Matter of fact, and I expect More Than Looks to come back very sharp. You have him in the mix, but you have him lower. But I like him very much in here. I think he's going to run a big race. I don't think there's a warm up or anything. I think he's, Sheree didn't tell me, but I suspect the screws are tight and we're in a grade 1 and we're not. We're starting the season on the go button. Ottoman Fleet for second. I don't know that there's much difference between the top two. I think I'm getting the better end of the price, though. And for third, number 4, Carl Spackler. The Waters get the deepest he's ever had. He likes Saratoga, but this is an animal of a different color today. I know it's only 7 in here. I think it's a fantastic grade 1, and I like More Than Looks. 7-6-4.
I went 6-4-7-1. I did put Ottoman Fleet on top. I just like the recency. This one comes in off a couple of nice wins down at Churchill in stakes action with solid numbers. Second spot, Carl Spackler, who again has more recency than More Than Looks. Yeah, More Than Looks off those last 2 races last year, with solid numbers is certainly worth considering, and comes in with some works that say, he's on his toes. But I still, with the recency of the other two, I tilted more in that direction. 6-4, 7-1.
I believe I have a much better feeling of the Fourstardave than the Saratoga Derby Invitational. The 11th and final, scheduled to go at 6:49 at the top of the stretch on the Mellon Turf Course.
And I wound up on Legend of Time. I went 1-3-6-8. Part of that is some of these are anticipated to come out. Now, you have to wait for scratch to be official, but it's been reported that Trickery probably goes to Colonial. First World War is likely to wait until Kentucky Downs. Fulminio is supposed to go here, so we can count on that one. But I'd like Trickery, so I probably would have went in that direction. And I put that one at the bottom of the mix just in case, but keep that in mind. If they do choose here, we'll see. But I put Legend of Time on top for Charlie Appleby, given the scenario of who is likely to go. Royal Majesty in the second spot, not with a lot of enthusiasm, but makes sense, again, given the horses that are likely to go. And Deterministic, I'm not sure about the distance for Deterministic. And also, Christophe Clement has kind of talked about less than firm going. Will not play to that one. So we'll see. 1, 3, 6, and 8. I kind of defaulted after the hearing of horses who may not go.
I made a mistake because I am of the opinion that this is a wide open race, and I am not supposed to do what I did, and that is I'm not supposed to take Legend on Time. I think there are 8-1 shots in here that I think I'm supposed to sit in this seat and pick, because Legend of Time does not stick out enough. Very well may win, and I'm now married to it, etc. But I like to tell people, if it doesn't jump out at you, choose 8-1 shots, etc. Royal Majesty now scares the bejesus and better this rating in here. I think it's a wide open race. Carson's Run is in the mix for me. Legend of Time might win. It probably even be a lower price than that with those silks. So that's probably a mistake on my part. It's going to be a short price, and I don't think it's indicative of how very competitive this race is. As I said, I have a much stronger feel for the Fourstardave than the Saratoga Derby. But 2 grade 1s to wrap up your week here.
All right. He's in the house, Steve Bick, as I
is.
said, was scheduled for Colonial, but they had weather issues down there as well. So we're happy to have Steve sitting in. Also coming up a little bit later on, Anna Sight Cianello. We'll talk Facing Tipton from earlier this week, and a little preview on the New York Breds that start tonight and go tomorrow afternoon as well down the street at the Facing Tipton Pavilion. Richard Migliori will talk a little Fourstardave on Fourstardave Day up here. Rode, I believe it was 25 times he was on Fourstardave. And then Rudy Rodriguez. Saw Rudy again this morning when I was over shooting breakfast earlier. And he's going to come over. He has heated up. Nice win with Print Track yesterday. We'll talk about that and more. All coming up in just a couple of minutes. Loose on the lead.
And I think the 26th time he rode him was over at Ciro's. He stays. I go, please take at least a day and a half off. We'll see you on Wednesday.
This has been the Handicappers Report, brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.